What is going on, everybody? I hope you're having an absolutely amazing day. Welcome to this upcoming week breakdown where I'm going to be covering the upcoming week for August 2nd through August 6th. And this week we have a lot of exciting things going on, from economic events to earnings to a lot of great setups to pay attention to. So with that being said, sit back, relax, and enjoy this week's breakdown. There's a lot to cover. First, we're going to break down the economic calendar, go into earnings, and then cover some charts and stocks to really pay attention to. With that being said, let's break down the calendar. Number one this is the calendar we typically look at on Sundays to understand what events are taking place on the upcoming week in terms of speakers, jobless claims, any reports, and any economic events that are major that may impact the market in some way, shape, or form. So for this week, we have PMI and ISM manufacturing indexes on Monday at 9:45 a.m. and 10 a.m. These two data sets or data numbers will probably impact the market in some way, shape, or form. So be careful trading around 9:45 a.m. and 10 a.m. on Monday. Also, something to mention is we're entering a new month. This is going to be the first trading day of August for this year. Statistically, speaking, August tends to be the slowest month of the year. And then also understand that a lot of portfolios, a lot of big money, a lot of hedge funds are going to be rebalancing their portfolios. They're going to be trimming positions, taking profits on some, opening new positions. So there may be a lot less liquidity the first couple of days trading of this month. Now, that being said, on Tuesday, we have Michelle Bauman speaking. Wednesday, we have Richard Clarida speaking. And then we have the petroleum data, which is typically coming out on Wednesdays at 10:30 a.m. Jobless claims 8:30 a.m. on Thursday, and this, in my opinion, is going to be something that the market is heavily focused on. The market will want to see if people are still, filing for unemployment. Is unemployment growing? Is unemployment dropping? What's the overall economy looking like? And this is going to be one of those data points that will be able to set the expectations for this whole month, right? And then also employment situation before market open on Friday. So those are the economic events. There's a lot of speakers this week, but typically, some events I didn't cover, obviously, that in my opinion aren't as important, but typically the green and the red dots, as you see here, are market moving indicators or events that might move the market in either, a bullish way or a bearish way. So just be careful trading around those particular times and dates. With that being covered, let's take a look at earnings. And there is quite a few earnings that I like for this week that might be, on play or on watch. Number one is going to be obviously Roku. Roku has a great, setting up, and depending on how earnings play out, we might see a big move. Uber, Etsy, CVS Health, Moderna is a big one, $2 away from all-time highs. Also an interesting one. Square will be interesting to see how that one plays out. We have DraftKings, right? And there's a couple of other names like Beyond Meat, for example, and Lyft, Simon Property Group, Skills that I just mentioned, and a few others. And a lot of other names that are going to be on watch are also names that reported earnings last week. They're still in play because that catalyst of earnings reports is still going to pretty much influence the stock's price action and movement. For example, Amazon, Shopify, Google, Facebook, Snapchat, AMD, Nvidia, all those names will be on watch. With that being broken down, let's now break down the market internal SPY, see what's going on with the overall indices. We are also going to cover crypto a little bit, going to talk about Bitcoin, and then jump into some setups. And by the way, guys, if you're finding this content and video valuable, make sure to go down below, drop a like, and subscribe to see more content like this every single Sunday when we post our weekly breakdown. So let's break down SPY. So SPY obviously dictates how the overall market is moving. Right now, it is important to kind of bring up and mention that the market structure is still intact in the bullish formation. We're still making higher highs and higher lows, and we're still bouncing off of that trend line, which is acting as support, and we're getting rejected typically on the top of the trend line. So we're trading in a wedge, in a bullish sort of wedge, in a rising wedge, right, which is making higher highs, higher lows, and it has a top and a bottom of the trend. And if we look at it closer on a small time frame, here's exactly what it looks like, right? So every time SPY hits this resistance or trend line, it gets rejected and sells off. Every time it hits the bottom, it tends to bounce and come back, right? And this has been pretty much an occurrence or something that's been happening for the past couple of months, right? Now, in terms of levels to pay attention to this week, again, depending on how the numbers on jobless claims and other economic factors report. For me, I want to see the 430, 450, 434 level. If that holds, that is a good indication we're still in bullish intact formation, and I want to see if we can hold the 434, 435 area. That would be great for us to still remain bullish in the overall market. If we do get under 434 and start selling off, if there's a negative report, negative catalyst, a rotation happening or something of that sort, that is where I'd start getting concerned in terms of focusing a lot of my attention on long positions or buying calls. I might switch it up and start looking for plays on a downside then, right? So this is going to dictate whether I'm focused on calls or puts, and really seeing which side of the market I want to focus on. Right now, the way it's looking and the way futures are opening, futures have opened green yet again. Right now we're gapping up after the close. Not a big gap up, but still we closed right over here on Friday, and we're trading right over here about $1 higher on Sunday. And obviously we still have about 12-14 hours to go until the market opens, so there is a lot of factors that can still switch it up, and a lot of things can change. But as of right now, everything is looking pretty good and pretty bullish. Intraday level wise, I want to see how we react around that 440 level. It has acted as a level of resistance multiple times. Every time we hit 440, 440.5, around that area, we have gotten rejected, and SPY did fall. So I want to see if we do gap up or at the open, we trade near 440, what happens to 440? Are we going to break through? If so, we might make a move to the previous all-time highs, which is 441.8. Then after that, we might start testing the top of the channel again. So something similar to this. If we break 440, we will test 441.8, and then we're going to enter all-time highs in price discovery, and we might push to around 443, around that area, right? If we are bearish, first levels on a downside watch are going to be 438. Under 438, it is going to be 437, 436, and then 435, 434s, and we might see how that reacts, right? A lot of support has been found near 436, 437. We are still bullish as we are making higher highs and higher lows. As you see, every low is a higher low. Buyers are stepping in higher and higher at every single point, and then we're also making higher highs. Every high that is being made is also higher, indicating that there's no doubt about bulls still being in control. With that being said, we just broke down the markets. Let's move on to some stocks. But before we do, guys, make sure to check out that first link down below in the description. We are running a free Discord community for traders to network, discuss trading, and learn from each other. It is completely free. You don't have to pay for anything. You just click the link and join our community for absolutely free. Would love to connect with you and work with you on a closer basis. So in terms of stocks I'm looking at for this week, I have quite a narrow watch list, but there is some nice setups that I'm looking at. That includes AMD, Amazon, Beyond Meat, Coinbase, Dash, Facebook, Google, Microstrategy, Nvidia, PayPal, Qualcomm, Snapchat, Snow, Square, and Tesla. Right, so about 10 stocks I'm watching. Some stocks I'm going to be really focused on, and some stocks are there because they might have a catalyst coming up, like earnings. So for example, Square and Moderna are stocks that have earnings this week, and I'm not really planning to trade them at the beginning of the week. I'm planning to see how they react to their earnings and then put together a trade idea after they report earnings. So Square, Moderna, stocks of that nature, there isn't going to be a play, in my opinion, until we have earnings reporting, because premiums are super expensive. And there is no point of trading something that has super expensive premiums with really high IV. I'd rather wait for IV to drop, for earnings to report, and that information to be released, and then put together a high probability trade. So on 8/5, I believe that is Thursday, we have Square reporting, and then Moderna is reporting earnings on, let's see, Moderna is reporting earnings, I believe, on 8/4 or 8/5, 8/5 as well, so Thursday, right? So both those stocks are going to be stocks I'm paying attention to on Friday. But let's start from the beginning. So AMD. AMD reported earnings last week, and they had an absolute blowout, incredible earnings. What happened is we had this all-time high break at 100, which is a big psychological level. This is where we rejected last time in the past, and we just blew through that level with very, very little struggle, with a lot of volume. Take a look at this volume. So earnings were great. They're on pace to do incredible numbers, and everything is setting up and looking bullish right now. So with this, I'm looking at a continuation gap and go play on AMD. If we look at the weekly chart, right, and see the previous patterns and what happened with AMD, we had a similar situation here with the previous earnings, where back in July of last year we had great earnings reported. I believe $60 level was a major level of resistance for many months, right? And then when we blew past it, we had 1, 2, 3 green weeks to follow. And same thing here is happening on AMD, where we have yet again incredible earnings, and then we blow through the massive resistance of $100, and now we might see 1, 2, and 3 green weeks, right, happening. Again, this is just speculative. This might not happen depending on the overall markets, but this is something we can expect. We know that AMD typically has, after a great catalyst, a very big continuation, right? And we did break and close the week above a major level of 100 and even 105. And right now we're sitting right below all-time highs. In terms of levels and how to trade this, we're obviously in price exploration and the price discovery mode. There's no previous price action to base support and resistance off of. We only have sort of last week's data to focus on. So we have a major support at $100. We know that that's a big psychological level. Then a 4-hour support at 101.3. This is where, after this bull flag pullback, buyers stepped in and sent the stock even higher. And then we have this level at 104.6, where we did find some resistance on on Thursday and Friday. We struggled at that level, and then 105.50 is a level of support as well. 106.80 to 107 is going to be a big level to watch tomorrow for continuation to all-time highs. Over 107, I believe we might see another extension, continuation up, and I would just play this carefully and watch all the tune time and sales and the overall market to see who is in control and who's stepping in. But if buyers are still in control, there's still a lot of volume present around this. This might see momentum, and this might go to around 110, 115, maybe even 120 by end of week, right? So this is a stock to watch. This is a stock I have call options on for monthly expiration for $100 strike that we entered with the group the day after earnings. Those are up 500%. I trimmed that position and still holding some. I do have shares at around a $72 average that I'm still holding, and I'm very bullish on AMD long term. But in terms of scalping and intraday setups, I like it for a break of 107 continuation. I want to see how we react tomorrow around that 107 level, and if we can hold through it. If we do get rejected, we might fall down to 105.50, 104.60, and then trade sideways a little bit between that zone before making a move higher. But AMD, you guys need to understand, trend is your friend, and you need to understand where the overall momentum is going. I know a lot of people are like, oh, AMD, it's overextended, let me short. No, you probably are not going to have a lot of success shorting this, because all factors, fundamentals and technicals, are stacking in the bullish direction. It is breaking all-time highs, breaking yearly highs. The numbers on the earnings reports are absolutely insane, incredible, blowing past all expectation. Stock is trading above all of the moving averages, which is also important to note. So there is probably a low probability that this is going to fall. Yes, it might have pullbacks after a big run up, but it is not in a bearish territory where you really want to go short this stock seriously. Unless something changes fundamentally or we break through a very big level like $100, I'm not looking to short AMD. And I see a lot of people online being like, oh, AMD is overbought, let me short, and they short here, and then the stock falls a little bit and then makes another all-time high, right? It is probably in your best interest to avoid shorting a stock like AMD for those particular reasons. With that being said, let's move on to Amazon. Amazon, on the other hand, missed their revenues last week, which was a big surprise for a lot of people and investors in Amazon. And we dropped around $300 or 8% in one day on Amazon. As you see, it is down on Friday about 7.56%, $272. A big drop for Amazon. Typically doesn't move that much in a given day. Something to understand is that we're still intact in the bullish uptrend, but fundamentally we are turning bearish, because fundamental data has turned from bullish. Amazon is growing incredibly fast, blowing out all expectations, to, oh, now Amazon missed revenues, something has gone wrong. Technically speaking, support and resistance wise, trend wise, we're still bullish, But fundamentally, we are now turning bearish because expectations have changed and things are looking a little bit different internally in the company in terms of how much money they're making, what's happening with the revenues, and they're missing instead of beating, right? So let's see what's happening. Right now, over the past couple of months, we are forming this uptrend support. And guess where we landed after that sell-off on Friday, right on top of that support. So that is going to be a level of importance and critical level to watch on Amazon this week, especially in the downside. If we break out of that, we might see another $50, $100 move continuation, right? Important levels to pay attention to are going to be 3,300, 3,250, 3,227, 3,174 this week. On the downside, on the upside, not really trying to play Amazon because of, again, the earnings and negative catalyst that it had. Let's break this down on a smaller time frame to see really what happened. One thing I do like, for a bearish setup is we closed below this trend line and we are forming a bearish H pattern, which is a bearish continuation pattern. Under this, we might see another flush through and continuation downwards, right? So this is kind of my idea for Amazon. I want to see a continuation setup on the downside here, especially if markets are showing weakness. This could be a great opportunity to short. There's a lot of buyers stepping in right now at 3310, 3300. So those are going to be levels of importance to watch. 3313, 3300. Under that, we might see 3293 and a continuation lower. So this is sort of what I'm watching Amazon for. In terms of the upside, if something changes, I'm not really looking to take Amazon long until we get at least over 3264. This is the Friday level of resistance where we got rejected multiple times when we tried to push above that level, right? 3260s did reject pretty hard on Friday. So unless we get over 3264 with some strength and maybe some positive news in Amazon, I'm not looking to play this on a long side. I am, looking to more so short this and buy puts. Next, we have Beyond Meat. Beyond Meat has earnings on a Thursday after market close as well, and it is landing on this interesting support at around $120. The way it's looking right now, it is looking more bearish price action wise, but this week might be tricky to play with earnings coming up. We might see some uncertainty or chop before the earnings report, and premiums are going to be more expensive. But the setup I'm looking for here is going to be that 120, 150 to 120 zone on the downside. I want to see what happens near that level, and if bears are aggressive and sellers are aggressive, we might see a continuation flush through that level. So every time stock hits 121, 120.7 around that area, buyers show up, and I want to see this week what happens when Beyond Meat sells off to 120, 150, 120, 121 area around that zone. It's not an exact level, but it is a zone that I watch. I want to see what happens. Are buyers able to step up and make the stock bounce, or is there no buyers present and sellers are in full control and the stock may fall through? So this is where I will be watching level 2 time and sales and the overall market direction to see which way we might be heading next. Next after that, we do have Coinbase and Microstrategy. I want to break those two down, but before I do, I want to break down crypto and Bitcoin. So let's look at Bitcoin futures /BTC. Right now, we're trading right about that $40,000 level, and we are trying to get out of that downtrend on Bitcoin. Now, in terms of Fibonacci retracements and fibs, I like to use fibs on crypto. It moves a little bit slower. The 38.2% retracement level was right around 43,000. So Bitcoin is still in that consolidation zone, sideways trend, trying to reverse and recover. But until we get over $43,000 on Bitcoin, I don't think are going to have any big moves. We need a confirmation break above 43,000 for this to really confirm that this is bullish, right? Right now, if you know anything about how trends work and the 3 phases of a stock, there's 3 phases of how a stock trades. There is the rejection phase, consolidation or sideways action phase, and then the confirmation uptrend phase, right? So right now, if you look at Bitcoin on a higher time frame, here's what's happening. Let's go to daily chart. This is exactly what is happening, where we have the big rejection phase from 65,000. We rejected, made lower highs and lower lows every time, right? So it was a downtrend. Then we started trading sideways in the sideways trend between 30,000, like 29,000 and 40,000, right? In this zone, we started trading sideways, right? No longer making lower lows and lower highs. We're now bottoming out, found a support here at 28,500 around there. Buyers stepped in, no longer making lower lows. and then the confirmation phase where we're now making higher highs and higher lows as we trend upwards, right? So this is a reversal play that is interesting to watch. And if we this week are able to break 43,000, we will officially confirm that this is making higher highs and higher lows, and we might be able to see movement not only in Bitcoin and the overall crypto market back up to 47,000, 50,000, but also names in the stock market like let's see, Microstrategy, Coinbase, Mara, Riot, GBTC, so Grayscale Bitcoin. All of those names might move if Bitcoin is able to get over that $43,000 level. I like Coinbase and Microstrategy. Those are my top two picks that I like to trade options on. Mara and Riot. I know some people trade those. Those are fine too. But Coinbase and MicroStrategy have a nice setup that I'm going to be watching. So let's break down Coinbase. Coinbase right now is in this sort of daily wedge, trading in this wedge, and I want to see what happens again. If Bitcoin is able to push, I think we might be able to head higher on this. On small time frame, this is what the wedge looks like right now. Still price compression, making lower highs and higher lows, and price will soon need to make a decision on where to go. Over 245 is a level of importance. I want to see if we can get over 245 and break these two levels of resistance right here in the past and start making higher highs. We might see a breakout to 247.25, 250, and then maybe even 255, 257 areas. So Coinbase right now and all crypto stocks are looking a little bit more on the bullish side than bearish side. But if crypto and Bitcoin is not able to get over 43,000, we might see a fake out and then a fade back down. Next week, we also have earnings on Coinbase, so just beware of that. Next, we have MicroStrategy, similar setup here where there is, on the daily chart, we have a bull flag forming, right? Take a look at this bull flag formation that is happening. Again, this correlates with Bitcoin a lot. I think MicroStrategy owns billions, if not like $4 billion of Bitcoin right now. They own a lot of Bitcoin, right? So their stock is going to directly correlate with how Bitcoin trades. And right now we have this, major gap up. They also just reported earnings, and then we have a bull flag forming, pullback continuation pattern, and then over 650, we have 664 and 688 as levels of resistance, and 700. I want to see if we're able to see strength in Bitcoin. Then maybe MicroStrategy can make a move higher and break out of that bull flag. We also have on a longer time frame a big level of resistance at 688, and if we can get over that, we can definitely make a $20 to $50 move on MicroStrategy. As you see, resistance here in the past, resistance. Let's see if we're able to break out of this bull flag and test the 688 level again. If we can break and head higher and make higher highs and higher lows, that is kind of my idea behind this. Next, let's see, we have Facebook. Facebook reported earnings. They lowered their guidance, said we're not expecting as big of a growth on Facebook. Important to notice on Facebook is on Friday we closed below the 356 level, which has been a big level of resistance, and we closed right underneath it. We're still holding the 21-day moving average on the downside at 353.76 right now, but if we do get below that 353 area, we might hit lower to 351, 350, 346, and then even maybe like 340, 337. But that will depend on, again, what the overall market does and if there's any company related news right now. So in terms of downside, I'm watching those levels. On the upside, I'm not looking to touch Facebook unless we can break and hold 357, which has been a level that has acted as a big level of support and resistance in the past. So I want to see how we react with that level. Let's next break down Google. They just reported earnings as well, and they did have interesting price action. We did see some rejection around 2725, 2700 level. So on Google, I want to see if we can possibly have bulls step in and see continuation over 2725. Over that level, we can probably head higher to all-time highs. If we can't hold that level under 2680, 2682, we can see a drop to 2669 and 2650. We do have a gap fill on the downside after all of those gaps to fill, and that gap fill is right at 2600 to 2569, right? So this is where we gapped up, and we haven't tested that gap just yet. So if we see weakness in the market and a sell-off, and we are seeing a lot of rotation out of those tech names happening on Thursday and Friday last week, and if that continues, we might see another continuation drop, right? Especially with the new month rebalancing happening, this upcoming week, we might see a bit of a pullback, some profit taking on Google, some reversals to fill that gap on the downside. Next, we have Moderna. Now, Moderna is an interesting stock. It's going to be in my watch, but I'm not going to be touching it probably until Friday when we do report earnings on Thursday after close. The only reason for that is because premiums are going to be super expensive. So at the money, premiums on Moderna are $30 right now because there is a catalyst, which is the earnings report. Premiums are super expensive at the money with big spreads. So I'm probably going to be avoiding trading this until the earnings report, but it is setting up nicely for a break of that all-time high. So this is a play to watch on Monday and maybe even this week, right? 360, 362 is all-time high, forming this bullish triangle formation, making higher highs and higher lows. Buyers are stepping up higher every single time. I want to see what happens on Monday or this week around that 360 to 362 level, but probably not going to trade this one, but still want to present that opportunity for you guys. Next, we do have Nvidia, similar idea to what I just mentioned here on Moderna, where we have a bullish triangle forming, a lot of resistance between 197 and 198. If we can get over that level, we can see 200 on Nvidia, and then higher levels after that, probably testing 205 and then 209, 210 all-time highs, right? So I'm watching 198 on Nvidia to see if we are able to continue, and if we do have a strong market and some catalysts, we might see continuation on the upside. On the downside, until we get under 192, 190, I'm not looking to take any short plays on this, especially if the markets are looking bullish. Next, we have PayPal. PayPal also reported earnings and saw a big dump after the earnings reported. Pretty much an inverse situation of what happened with AMD. So AMD reported great earnings, gapped up, started having continuation on upside. On PayPal, reported earnings, gapped down, and started having continuation on the downside. So something I want you to understand is something fundamentally changed with PayPal, right, in terms of how they report their earnings. So just that we dropped a lot right now does not mean buy. It does not mean it has to come back to its previous levels. It of course can, but it is not a high probability trade to be trading PayPal in the bullish direction, buying calls on this right away, right? You need to understand that stocks move in trends and stocks don't reverse right away. You need to give a stock some time to calm down, and typically after a big move down or big move up, stock consolidates and then either reverses or continues its sell-off, right? So with PayPal this week, I'm expecting some sort of consolidation here between that 273, 280 level, and then possibly continuation flush downwards with the negative numbers that came out. We are also turning bearish in terms of how we're trading. We got rejected here at all-time highs, trapped a lot of people, retail traders, thinking this is going to break out and make all-time highs. And we are trading below the 21 moving average and just broke through the 50-day moving average as well, which is kind of important for such big stocks and companies. There is, again, a lot of support here from previous price action. A lot of chopping is between 270 and 273, 277, around that $5 to $7 zone, right? So in here, we might see a lot of chop, but if we do get under 273, we may see a continuation on the downside and another leg down. This is what I'm watching. Next, we have Qualcomm, and this is probably one of my favorite setups. I myself will most likely be opening $160 calls for a couple of weeks to a month out of expiration. I was looking at the September contracts for September 17th, the $160 strike at around $1.75. Those are the contracts I most likely will be opening. Again, this is not financial advice. This is what I will personally most likely be opening as a longer term swing trade. This is not going to be a scalp. This is going to be a swing trade. The reason being is they reported great earnings. The stock gapped up above a major level at 146, which is acted as a big level of resistance. Then they do have a gap fill to $161. So in the previous earnings report, Qualcomm had bad earnings and they gapped down to $149 and then started selling off, trading sideways. And now we're finally getting out of that downtrend and looking to reverse. As I just mentioned before a couple of minutes ago, we do have the three phases. We have the rejection, consolidation, and confirmation, where we're now making higher highs and higher lows. And Qualcomm is a perfect example of that, where buyers are stepping in higher and higher every single time, sending the stock higher. Great earnings, good catalyst, and an increase in volume. So over 150, 151, we can day trade this, right? There's some scalping opportunities on this. There's also an opportunity for a longer term move to around $161 to fill that gap on the upside. And I have no doubt that if the markets hold strong, we might see a nice move on Qualcomm. So this is probably one of my top two setups for this week to pay attention to, right? Next, we have Snapchat. Snapchat also had a nice earnings report. We have a gap above all-time highs, and we are still holding that gap. If the markets are weak, we might see continuation downwards to fill the gap that was made to $70 and then $64. But if markets hold up strong, right, we're still holding above the previous all-time highs, retesting previous resistance levels as levels of support right now. We might see a bounce and continuation higher on Snapchat to $79 and maybe even higher, right? So it's currently trading in this wedge. I want to see which way we end up breaking out of, and then take it from there and put together a trade idea, right? So right now we're making higher highs and higher lows and lower highs. We are in this price compression where the stock is getting compressed, and then price action will have to make a decision on which way to break out, either on the upside or the downside. So this is what I'm looking at on Snapchat. Next, we have Snow. Snow, also similar setup where we are seeing a possible reversal happening on a bigger time frame. If we look at the daily chart, we do have a big rejection level from the previous highs at 429, consolidation level between 184 and 270, 250-ish right over here, trading sideways, and now we're building this staircase upwards level of support as this bullish triangle, making higher highs and higher lows and possibly reversing, right? So over 271, 272, I'm looking to see if we can see a possible continuation in Snow. This is more of a upside trade, but with Snow, the only thing is the premiums. The premiums have a big spread on the contracts, and they're a little bit trickier to trade. So I suggest going light on this if you don't know how to trade this particular stock. Make sure that the stocks you guys are trading, you understand their personality, how they move, and how their contracts move as well. Because just that a stock makes a big move does not mean the contracts are going to follow along accordingly and have a similar setup, right? And finally, last but not least, one of my probably top two setups along with Qualcomm is Tesla. Tesla already had earnings reported, which is good. Now that that's out of the way, the premiums are cheaper, and we are price action wise looking very nice, and tested some big critical levels on Friday. We did trade Tesla on Friday, had some nice numbers, made a little bit over $7,000 on Tesla on Friday. This week, this is still on the watch list, guys. This is super interesting on Tesla. Take a look at all the wicking that's going on between the 690 and 700 level. Every time Tesla hits 692, 694, 697, it gets rejected with a lot of sellers stepping in. And we saw the same story unveil itself on Friday, where we hit 695 as the high of today. Then we got rejected and pulled back to 687, held that level. So this week I'm watching this purely on the upside to see if we get over 694, can we see a continuation to 700, and then over 700 we might see a multi-time frame squeeze and breakout. And the next levels on the upside over 700 are going to be 708, 714, and 723. Those are going to be the levels I'm watching on this. I want to see this get over 697. So Tesla over 697. Next bigger resistance is going to be 700. Over 700, we can see 707, 714, 720, 723, around that area, right? So that is it, guys, for this week's breakdown. I hope you enjoyed it. Make sure to go down below and check out all of the additional resources. As I mentioned earlier, we do have a free networking group for traders and like-minded individuals to connect, share resources and ideas for stock market, for both options, stocks, and crypto. So I would love to see you guys inside. It is completely free. And with that being said, guys, I will see you in the next video. Thank you for joining.